This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
.607 at WPSL, the talk of the Treasure Coast. The following is like a pregame show to a pregame show. We'll have some IRSC basketball for you in a little bit. But right now, Howard Insurance of Port St. Lucie presents the African American scene. Remember, views expressed on this program are not necessarily those of WPSL, but you're encouraged to like and share them on Facebook. Your host is the one and only Rudy Howard.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Always glad to be with you here on a Wednesday night. Well, it is done. First, let me acknowledge Russell Ainsley. What a wonderful thing he did. He bought me, he brought two books to me called The Greatness Books. They're about famous sports athletes. Kind of backed up on my reading right now. Russell, I haven't got to it, but I promise you I will get to them. I'm looking forward to getting to those books. But I got a couple more I got to get to before I get to them, so it's going to be a while. But thank you again, and I will share that with my son. Let me go back to last week. At the end of last week, I think you saw why we are having such a difficulty as a country. You had Steve and Chuck call up toward the end of the show, and they were trying to style arguments based on nothing that Donald Trump was not guilty. That's the kind of stuff that gets me angry. At least I can say, for Lamar Hunt and Marco Rubio, while I may disagree with them on a lot of things, at least they had the guts to admit that what he did was wrong, but they were not going to impeach him. I can argue with that. That's something to argue with because we talked about they accepted the facts. They accepted the facts that he was guilty. So, They accepted the facts that he was guilty, and they were prepared to vote no. Okay. I can disagree with the process of the information on how they came to that conclusion, and that's an argument that we can have. But saying he didn't do anything is so dishonest. And then Chuck really got to put a burr up under my saddle when he equated what was happening with Trump to Kavanaugh. And I don't think that I ever spoke about Kavanaugh on the show, and I speak on a lot of things. But let me tell you my position on Kavanaugh. First off, I don't know whether he did it or he didn't do it. My argument is that they should have let the investigation play out. It was wrong not to let the investigation play out. Now, here's what I will say. For some of you, you may have felt that was so long ago it should have been discounted. Well, you know what? And I'm going to count myself among one of them. If he had said, when I was young, I did a lot of dumb things, and on occasion I may have drank too many beers, but I have long since passed that point, and I have made a good citizen out of myself. I'd have been okay with that, because those of us that went to college, I would dare say there's very, very few people I know that went to college that didn't do some dumb stuff while they were there. But to go on and try to besmudge that lady makes no sense. Not to mention the fact that Chuck's argument was that she came out of nowhere just to damage Kavanaugh, and that's just a stupid argument. She was a successful professor at a university. She had nothing to gain. Just maybe can you accept the idea that she did that out of conscience, that she felt if he was going to be a Supreme Court justice, which is a lifetime appointment, she was obligated to try to give some input into that process. I don't know why that's real hard to figure out. She got nothing to gain. Nothing. Nothing at all. To upset her life and her family life to come out and do that. And then there was at least 10 witnesses that had information that were shut off and they were not allowed to provide information. That's dumb. And that is a repeat of what just happened, not allowing people who have firsthand information to provide testimony. And that is an insult to our democracy. Okay. But I want you to think about what you did when you heard courageous Republicans come out and say, yes, he was wrong. What he did was wrong, but I'm not going to impeach him. Oh, boy, listen, got some love for you for that. Disagree with your conclusion, but you didn't try to come up with some Hunter Biden garbage in order to justify your position. So I'm leaving that, but and I'm gonna tonight's my first show on Black History Month, so I have a trivia question for you. But before we go to the question, I'm going to reread this poem that I read, I guess maybe a year or so ago, because I just feel like it's apropos at the moment. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of his friend. He referred to the dates on his tombstone from beginning to the end. He noted the first came his date of birth and spoke the following date with tears, 1968-1998. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For the dash represents all the time that he spent alive on earth, and now only those who loved him know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If you could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real, and always try to understand the way other people feel. And be less quick to anger and show appreciation more and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy's being read with your life's action to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash? I love that poem. Boy, give that some thought. We got Steve on line one. Yes, Steve.
It's a beautiful poem, but remember, the truism, so to speak, is between you and God knows what's in your heart.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what words you speak, do they come from the heart?
Yes, sir.
So, okay. Now, what I wanted to bring up was the Democrats are blowing it. and they're blowing it because they all want to be Kim Kardashian. They all want to put on this big peacock show instead of sitting down and at the kitchen table with the blue-collar voter and saying, this is what I'm going to do for you. I haven't heard anybody say that yet. I haven't heard anybody propose a road plan or infrastructure, new pipelines, new water pipes. All I've heard is all this boasting about how we're going to blow up Iran if they hurt a soldier. 33 are in the hospital, and we haven't done anything. We've become the laughing stock of the world. America, you better come together and unite.
Yep.
Because if you don't, you are not going to exist. The united we stand, divided we fall. It's true.
Yes, sir.
And if you don't think so, study the Civil War. And you'll figure it out real quick. But
yes.
That's my main thing right now is the Democrats got to stop all trying to be a star and start relating to the people. Because the people vote. I haven't heard anybody say, Trump, you say the economy's so good. Why did you just bail out the soybean farmers for $20 billion?
Because Steve,
soybeans are $8 a ton instead of 18. So
see, here's the problem, and I've heard some of the correspondents say it. He tells lies with such ease and regularity. There's a tendency sometime not to want to challenge some of the things he says, and he says them with such conviction and so often that people begin to believe him. And if there's one thing we learned from the Iraq War, if you say something long enough and loud enough, people begin to buy it. And
Rudy, that's the problem.
I agree.
It's up to the press. The press. The reporter standing there, when he tells a lie, they say, wait a minute, that is not true. That is not true. And catch him off guard. You guys don't know how to play. He's playing like a cheap piano. But if I was standing there and he told a lie, I'd say, that is a lie. And I would put him on the defense right now.
What, what, though?
Every time he did it, I would do it again and again. Every scene I had, I would show him he's a liar. What about the children in cages? You see the halftime show? You don't think that was symbolic?
I got it. But listen, Steve, I don't think it's the reporters. I think the powers that be require you to be a gentle person when you're dealing with the President of the United States. But I saw a thing today that came across my computer. They went out and did a fact check of all the stuff he said, and they just pointed out lie after lie after lie. Some of them you could classify as exaggerations, but he just tells them all the time.
But the press needs to challenge him right then, Rudy. That's my point.
Yeah.
When I've gone before legislators and stuff, I am not afraid of anybody. And so when they tell a lie, I jump up and go, that is not true. And boom, I might be out of order, but all of a sudden I got everybody's attention. And the lie is not slipping by. It's being challenged. It's got to be proven now. Now you've got it. Like I say, I grew up in politics. You guys don't know how to play. And they're going to blow it.
All right, I hear you. Hey, I'm glad to hear from you. Hadn't heard from you in a while.
Well, I broke my hand. Rudy, if I don't break something once or twice a month, I'm just not keeping up. I'm helping out with the medical profession.
Okay, all right.
So, surgeons got to eat, they got to gas a little bit, so,
Okay.
I broke a bone in my hand. I got a couple more surgeries. Jesus and I are just...
Okay, my friend, thank you. Thank you for calling. Don't be a stranger.
Take care. Stay well.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay. First trivia question. I was America's first lieutenant governor. I was America's first African American lieutenant governor. Who am I? And I'll tell you what state I was in, so that'll help you with the Google. I was the first lieutenant governor in the state of Louisiana. And we got John on line 1. Yes, sir.
I don't know the answer to that. I wanted to make a statement, but then I have to dash.
Okay. Okay, John. Okay, John.
You know, there's a talk show on during the day. He's supposed to be selling, stocks and bonds and investments. But about 3/4 of his program is political. And, he bashes Clinton and Obama and all that. And they made a statement today, because most of his callers and the people that surround him, during his hour or whatever it is on the radio, they're all conservatives. They're all right-wing, and they all agree, And I always said, if two people think exactly alike, one isn't needed, I usually, and I hate to say this because, I'm a Democrat, but if it's a talk show with a Republican, you get all of all his cronies calling agreeing, and I find that when you get a talk show with a Democrat or a liberal, it's both sides of the story. Republicans will call, Democrats will call.
Yeah.
And I think that's balance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And views from both sides. But what threw me when I listened for about 5 minutes and I can't take any more. But well, it's the truth, because it's obnoxious. It's just spewing hate and dividing people. He said Trump spoke for an hour and a half about what he's done for this country, and he still hadn't finished what he's done for the country.
Yeah.
And by that time I had to change the channel, But can you imagine that, an hour and a half? I mean, the first thing they say is economy. And then the rest I just don't comprehend. I don't understand, because he's failed at, foreign affairs, North Korea, China, Russia. What else has he done? Now, recently, he loves blacks and minorities and educators. The thing is that he'll do anything now for re-election. Plus, he's got some writers, and he's following the script, so he sounds, almost normal.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? How many? What was the balance of Democrats and Republicans in the Senate? What's it? Did he get 47 against 51 votes, or?
No, he got 48 on the first article of impeachment, and he got 47 on the second. So Romney voted with the Democrats on the first article of impeachment, but on the second article of impeachment, Romney voted with the Republicans.
Oh,
so that's where that
so
went.
Say 48 against, and what was the deciding vote?
It was 52-48, and then it was
five people, right? 5 voters.
Yeah. Well, let's see now.
5, is that correct?
No, it was 52-48. That's 100, and then in the second go round it was 47-53. So
yeah. Well, what I'm saying is 47 voted guilty and 53 voted
yes
to acquit. Is that it?
That's correct.
Yeah. So we're talking a difference of 6 votes,
Yeah.
and the Senate is lopsided anyway because it's mostly Republican, if I'm not mistaken.
It is. It is.
Do you know where Obama got Obamacare from?
Yes,
he didn't follow
I do. I know. He got it from Romney Care in Massachusetts.
Yeah, Massachusetts. Yeah, it was called. What was it called? Commonwealth Care.
John, what he did when he was pushing the Affordable Care Act, he pushed that piece of legislation because he was trying to present something that he thought the Republicans would accept. And when he brought Romney Care forward, he thought he would get the Republicans to buy in. But they weren't going to buy into anything that he did. Nothing that he did they were going to buy into. Just like the other thing, which he had a bipartisan immigration reform bill that passed the Senate and was sitting in the House, and he couldn't get a vote. He asked Boehner more times than I can think of, just let him vote. Boehner wouldn't, because if he had let him vote, it would have passed. I think they had like 93 senators voted for that immigration reform package, and it sat there in the House. And then they said he didn't do anything. Listen.
The only thing that I didn't think was right was when Obama, enacted a fine, I think a penalty, if you didn't sign up with the care, with Obamacare, with the Affordable Care. Yeah. I didn't think that was fair or right, to force people. Yeah. But it's just one thing that didn't sit right with me,
Well, you're entitled to that. Thank you, John, for calling.
Okay, good to talk to you.
Okay, man, take care.
All right, bye. Thank you, bye-bye.
Okay, let me give you a little more information about my trivia question. And that doggone Renee, I know Renee's out there listening. Every year when I have trivia, Renee calls up and he knows the doggone answer. Guy really knows his stuff.
Did you maybe stump him this time?
Maybe.
Ooh.
My Cuban friend is very on top of his history. In the early years, this gentleman led a civic force to promote education and youth initiatives for emancipated black slaves while challenging white politicians. Okay, so there's more information on my person. After the Civil War and Reconstruction, I made sure that freedom-seeking work on farms, freedmen seeking work on farms were not cheated and actually paid for their work. Who am I? First Lieutenant Governor in America. Who am I? Come on, you can do it.
It's probably not somebody in our lifetimes right away, right?
No, it's not.
Oh.
No, it's not. That's another good hit.
Big clue.
A big clue, yeah. But I did say the first lieutenant governor in the United States was from Louisiana, so that's a big hint right there. So now that the vote's done and you got the expected outcome, I would have to say that I am bitterly disappointed. But I'm going to make a prediction, and I know that that's a dangerous thing to do on here because somebody will remember what I had to say and they'll come back and want to clunk me in the head with it, and that's okay. But because I'm not a coward, I'm going to step out here on the limb. I am expecting a bloodbath in November, and I'm going to tell you why. And I've said it before, so if you've listened to me for a long time, this is a repeat. I believe in this country there is a segment in the middle that will not speak out, but they don't like injustice and they don't like unfairness. And whether you want to admit it or not, for my conservative friends, the vast majority of the country disagrees with you because they keep voting Democrat. you win by various and sundry schemes to tilt things in your favor. But in this particular situation, what I'm going to say is those people in the middle, they're the same ones that when they turned on their TV at night and they saw them sicking dogs on kids and putting fire hoses on small black kids, they went, that's enough. They then decided it was time for action. And I'm going to say, let me tell you why I'm making this prediction. And I know there's some people out there saying I don't know what I'm talking about. And maybe you're right. Maybe I don't. And maybe I'm just a kid from the 60s that still has a lot of hope and aspirations from that time. But I just believe those people in the middle who don't speak out, don't necessarily march, are going to look at what just happened and they're going to go, nope, I can't live with that. And they are going to vote the Republicans out. I do believe that from the bottom of my heart, and you're very welcome to call up and beat me in the head with it if it doesn't happen, but I truly believe that's going to happen. Because I truly believe in those people in the middle, especially some of my white brothers and sisters that are in the middle that don't like to be, they don't want the spotlight on them. They just want to go about their lives every day and take care of their kids and go to work and make money and take care of the cars and the houses and children. But they don't like injustice and unfairness. And they have just witnessed something that was extraordinarily unjust and unfair. And I think people will pay for that at the ballot box. Just one man's opinion. And you are welcome to call up and disagree with me, but I really do think that's what's going to happen. And I'll be surprised if it doesn't, because I just know, because of the people are frustrated. People are afraid about what has happened and what is going on with our democracy. Have we just crowned a monarch instead of a president? People are worried about all of that stuff. People are worried about the dissolution of our democracy. So I think you're going to be in for a rather substantial surprise come November. And I'll tell you, most of the people think it's a hopeless cause. But anyway, we have Ari on line one. Yes, sir.
Hey, Rudy, how are you doing tonight?
Okay.
Truly enjoy listening to you. Don't agree with you all the time, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not a big deal because, you know what, we can't agree with each other. We just got to try to do our best.
Yes, sir.
I'm one of those ones in the middle.
Yeah.
Grew up in an orphanage. I try to look at things straightforward. I look at this president. I couldn't watch the speech last night just for the fact that I have a hard time just listening to him.
Yes.
He just sort of turns you. But on the other end, I don't believe everything he's done is wrong. Pretty much how he's worded everything is wrong because it's all about him. Poor boy's just sort of stuck on himself just a little.
Okay.
But I have a problem with it. I think that the people in the middle are looking at both sides the same way. You know, we've got to get better as a country. We got to start taking care of people. We got to start educating, and it's got to come from the ground because that's the only way we're going to change the income through education. You know, we've got to start taking care of our people. And I don't want that where government tells me everything. But I don't also want government taking everything from me. And it seems like both sides just really want our money. And I don't see any really valuable options coming out of anyone's mouth that they're willing to follow through. And it's really sad as an American who works really hard to get stuff, we don't see it happening.
Well, here's
I'm not sure what you think, but I I don't hear Democrats trash Democrats. I don't hear Republicans trash Republicans. And in my mind, both of them are pieces of you-know-what.
Okay, let me just say this. I have done some pretty in-depth reading on Bill Gates, and my new guy is Nick Hanauer. Are you familiar with Nick Hanauer?
No, I've never heard of him, but I will look him up when I get done here.
Okay. Nick Hanauer is the venture capitalist that helped put the Amazon deal together. Very, very rich man. And he has a short video out that's called Capitalism Redefined. He's a capitalist, but he has been trying to make the case, and he also did a TED Talk on the same thing, that the economy will prosper when everybody prospers, because it's not the people at the top that make. Okay, so you agree with that? That's what he's saying.
We can't have a pure capitalistic system when we can't have a pure socialistic system. We have to have a little bit of both, because we got to take care of people.
Yes. Now we
can't spurn incentive either. We got to have both.
Well, yes, that's exactly what he says. But here's the example he used. He's from state of Washington, and if you look at there's two clips. One is about 7 minutes, and the other one's about an hour and change. He said when they voted to put in the wage to $15 an hour in Seattle, there was a cataclysmic clamor from the well-off saying it was going to destroy the economy. You don't know what you're doing. And waiters and waitresses went from making $2 an hour to $9.25 an hour. And he says in his speech, do you know what happened? The economy boomed. Small businesses boomed. And this is the lesson that we should have got from Henry Ford way back when he made the Model T. Henry Ford gave money to his employees because he figured out, I got this great machine, but if nobody can buy it, what good is it? So by giving more money, more employees bought the Model T. And that's what Nick Hanauer said. Once the people had more money, they were going to the restaurant more, they were buying more clothes, so the economy flourished.
I agree with all that, and I agree with higher wages. Unfortunately, the people at $15 an hour all of a sudden find someone right next to them who doesn't work hard making that. That's where the thing, and yes, it might be booming now, and I'm hoping it continues to boom, but nothing happened. No, even the economy right now isn't all Trump. I'm sure there were a few little things that Obama did that actually spurred it as well.
For sure.
And it's a combination of things. But the bottom line is we don't share wealth in the respect of people who work hard. There's a lot of people in the middle class who work their butt off, who are unbelievable people that aren't getting paid.
That's true.
Every day they're getting a little bit closer to poverty.
Yes.
And I don't see either party. Obamacare was about 13 million people getting health insurance, which it should. But it really hurt a lot of people in the middle. And even that was given with lies. The guy who wrote it, and he said it's because the American people are stupid. Almost verbatim, he said that. So it's when do they ever take care? When are they ever going to take care of us? And that's the sad part. I just don't see it. I don't see the left doing it, and I surely don't see the right doing it. And I want a businessman in the Oval Office, but I don't want a narcissistic ass.
Okay.
So this is the conundrum we're in. That there might be certain things that Donald Trump does that we like.
Yeah.
But none of it is with his verbiage. His verbiage is what I can't defend the man because he's indefensible when he talks.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate but the Democrats didn't work with him since day one, and they could have. And you're right about the Republicans pulling off the DACA thing, which blew me away. My dad's an immigrant. It blew me away that, wait a second, you could have gotten all these people, legalized citizens, contributing, and you know what? When you take care of someone, they're more than willing to take care of you.
Absolutely.
It's a real simple thing.
Absolutely.
Real simple.
Absolutely.
And there's all. So I just don't see people really caring on either side, caring enough. They just care about votes and control, and that's unfortunately very disheartening.
All right. Well, thank you for your call.
Thank you, Rudy. I appreciate it. Keep on going, because some of the things I like, some of the things I don't, but I always want to hear the difference.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right. And if you've been listening, I don't expect you always to agree with me, and I appreciate someone giving me their perspective. Ari was one of those people in the middle, and he just told me how he felt. He's not happy with either side at this point, so that's good information. But we do, and listen, I make no secret of the fact that I am a progressive Democrat for the most part, with a tinge of more moderate when it comes to fiscal matters. I tend to be more on the moderate side when it comes to that. But on the social side, I'm definitely more progressive. But I happen to think, and if you've listened to me for some time, I've said this over and over and over again, ad infinitum, I make myself sick of saying it, but we are a better country when you can take the ideas from the right and the ideas from the left, and you can meld them together and come up with a solution. That's when we're at our very best. And I don't see that happening anytime soon, because now it's into payback. I think everybody wants to get a payback. And I think that's just been heightened by what we just went through. No matter what information was provided, there was a refusal to accept any information as being legitimate, because it was about defending their side, So, listen, that's all I can say about that, and I have hope that we can at some point be more united, but I don't see it happening. Let me give you. Okay, let me give you. He was supported, this first lieutenant governor in the history of the United States, this African American governor, was supported by the Radical Republican Party. How about that? And they were the party that pushed me forward. And we got Steve on line one. Yes, sir.
Hey, Rudy, I won't cause you any pain tonight.
Oh, you don't cause me any pain.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I don't want to aggravate you. I was
you do that good.
I can do that, right?
Yeah, you can do that. You do that good.
You were telling you told up to go on and said what I was saying. Hey,
Huh?
you challenged. I'll get to the point. You challenged me last week to look up.
I didn't hear you. You're breaking up.
You speak right into the
Can
phone.
you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. You challenged me to look into the impeachment without a crime, so I did so. You gave me the name Andrew Jackson. And so I went and looked at that and tried to determine. Well, I found out in 1863 it wasn't Andrew Jackson that was impeached. He was Simpson in 1863 for withholding documents defunding the Bank of the United States and giving out political favored contracts. But I think you must have meant Andrew Johnson. So I did find Andrew Johnson was impeached in 1863, I guess it was.
Well, I wouldn't have said Andrew Jackson, so you misunderstood me. It was Andrew Johnson. Okay.
So I looked into his impeachment, and it's very interesting because you mentioned the Civil War earlier. Well, in the Civil War, of course, Johnson was vice president to Lincoln. And Lincoln chose him because they were both of like mind. They were very stubborn about their views on the United States, a lot of different areas. After Lincoln was assassinated, Johnson became the president of the United States. And is this what you're remembering?
Keep talking.
Okay. So, because of Johnson's views, political views, he was impeached. And what was happening at that time was after the Civil War, the North, its representatives in the Senate, were, after the Civil War, they wanted to be repaid, they wanted to punish, and they wanted to strip the economic and political power of the South. And Johnson didn't want to do that.
Well, here's the point that I need you to get to, because you're going all the way around the bend. Let me finish what I was going to say. No. Was he convicted of a crime?
He was not convicted of a crime.
Okay.
But he took the moral high ground. This is where the comparison falls apart. His moral standard was to reconstruct the United States of America. The northern senators and the representatives, they did not want that to happen. They wanted, by fact, they wanted to punish and take away the power from the South. So Johnson, he was impeached, but he was in the higher moral ground, because we know.
How do you come to that conclusion? Just wait a minute, second, because you're not getting all your facts right, as usual. He thwarted Reconstruction. Reconstruction was where African American free men were able to start to build new lives in the South. And Andrew Johnson.
But that's not. I'm not using the Reconstruction Act. I'm saying that Jackson.
Johnson.
I mean, Johnson wanted the people to unite in the cause of uniting the United States of America.
You can't leave out the other part. You can't leave out the other part. See, you're doing selective stuff again. You're not being honest.
I am being honest.
No, you're not. If you're not talking about the fact that he was trying to destroy Reconstruction, and that was part of what triggered people who were opposed to him, you're not being honest.
I am being honest. I'm not saying anything about the Reconstruction Act. I'm saying that maybe that was the wrong word, because that's the word you were looking for. You were trying to grab something out of what I was saying. I'm saying that Johnson wanted to restore the Union. That was his purpose. That's why he wanted to not punish officers. That's why he wanted political representatives. But the party in power in the North didn't want that to happen. I'm not going to say Reconstruction, because that just sets you off. But what I'm saying is Johnson had the same views as President Lincoln. President Lincoln was very, very upset. President Lincoln
was what?
Was very, very upset. I'm getting a double thing here again. But here's what Lincoln was quoted as saying before the war. If I could have the Union without freeing slaves, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing all the slaves, I would do it. And if I could give that by freeing some and leaving others alone, I would do that. Now, Lincoln is held up in high esteem as being, and this is not the only thing he said. I mean, he said some many good things that progressives and liberals would agree with. But Johnson wanted to combine the United States of America. And by doing that, which eventually happened, it became the freest nation in the world, the most richest nation, and the most compassionate nation, too, that had ever existed.
Well,
so I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just saying that's just what happened.
Well, the fact of the matter is, you did some research and you found out what I told you was true, that he was not convicted of a crime and he was impeached. That's the bottom line.
Yes, he was not convicted of a crime. That is the bottom line. But he was convicted of being of higher moral standard of forgiveness.
That is an opinion. That's
And
not
the
a
other side was
that's
trying disunity.
that's an opinion. That's not a fact. You are
Rudy,
saying that
if
you're
you
saying
go back to the
no.
papers and
No,
look at
you're
see what was
saying
written about him,
you're
about the
saying
you'll find it.
you're saying that he was convicted because he was of a higher moral standard than the people in the North. That's your opinion. That's not a fact.
Rudy, I listened to you last week go on a big rant and rave about your opinion about Trump, and part of the trouble in the United States is people have come to the assumption that what I think is reality, and that's not reality. Reality is something that you got to be able to grasp, and a part of the problem, like you say, the failing in the United States is this tribal system where there's evil and good. There's a book out, and I'll just do this as final thought. There's a book out called Coddling of America. And there's 3 fallacies in this book that they try to say that are causing a lot of trouble in the United States. These are progressive liberals that have written this book. And they said the first one is the idea that whatever doesn't kill you will make you weaker. The second fallacy that people are trying to live off of is trust your emotions above everything else. And the third thing is that there's only good and evil, and there's always a war between these two. And so with those 3 premises, it causes all kind of problems in government. Because you and I know we had to work hard to achieve, and it took pain, and it took sweat, and it took initiative to achieve. We know that you can't trust your emotions because it's the easiest thing to fool. I can go out and say, somebody just ran into your car. You'll react. So it's an emotional reaction. It's not objective. And the third, if we look at everything as people are doing right now, the Republicans are evil, the Democrats are good, and you're propagating that they didn't know it was right, and here's a democracy working. We're having a vote here, and it's going to be the majority win, and the majority won. Oh, then we got to accept it. See, we don't want that majority. We want another majority. And I've already explained.
Well, the majority didn't win. The electoral college won. The majority
you're
won.
You're talking about the vote. I'm talking about the vote on impeachment.
Okay, all right.
But still. You are saying, even if you want to take the electoral college out of it, that is a way of changing, or maybe to the worse. You don't know. You don't know the future to make it worse.
I do. I can speak.
You don't know.
I can speak
you
intelligently
don't know. You
on
can't
that.
see the future.
I have researched that. I can speak intelligently on that.
Because you can't see the future.
Well, I can speak. Yes, I can. I can speak intelligently on that. Because I can tell you why the electoral college was created, and it has outlived its purpose. And I would not disagree with why it was created back at the time that it was created. But it's no longer relevant.
I would get scholars that would disagree with you, and vehemently, and then you would say it was their opinion. But then you don't give them the right to tell you that it's your opinion. And that's the point I just made.
Well, do you have a right to always tell me? You always have the right to tell me I'm wrong, but you have to demonstrate to me, I keep telling you this, you have to tell me why I'm wrong and support that with factual information. Don't tell me that Andrew Johnson was on a higher moral ground, and that's why he got impeached. That's an opinion. That's not a fact.
It's not an opinion because
it is an opinion. You can find all kinds of information out there on why he got impeached, and not all of them will say that he was on the highest moral ground, and that's why he got impeached.
Was Lincoln in higher moral ground?
Not always, no.
Okay, so are you going to say he wasn't or he was?
I'm saying Lincoln was not always on higher moral ground. Now
That's your
we're getting
opinion.
there. No, that's a fact.
Just like I'm telling you, it's a fact.
It's
That
not,
he
but it's not a
agreed
fact.
with Lincoln on this fact that he wanted to reestablish the United States of America because it was better for the country. It was better to forgive. It was better to I don't use the word reorganize, reinstitute, reorganize, regroup, and then come together as understanding. Not that everybody was on one side or the other. And that, again, this is where we get in a lot of trouble. You think I'm always wrong, and you think I think you're always wrong.
No, I
And
don't.
that's
I
why
don't,
we
I don't
disagree.
necessarily. I don't necessarily think that you're always wrong, but I don't.
you
I
said
don't
I was.
allow you to give me garbage. When you give me garbage, I stop you, and I stop you because you're unable to back what you're saying up with factual information. And if you can't back it up with factual information, I'm going to stop you every time.
Rudy, a lot of the times the factual information you have is facts on opinions.
No,
Yes.
I do
Although,
have
again,
opinions for sure.
Okay.
I have
And then
opinions, but usually when I have an opinion, I say it's an opinion.
Rudy, that's
Okay, good night.
you know.
Thank you for calling. And there's always next week. You get a chance to come back next week. But thank you for calling.
Take care. Love you.
Okay, all right. Okay,
We got almost a whole minute, a little over a minute, and that's about it.
okay.
So how do we wrap this one up? I know we got
All right.
IRSC basketball tip-off coming up at 7:30. Miami's in town at IRSC.
Yeah,
And
I
Greg
bet you
White's
that's Chuck ringing the phone.
Probably.
Get the last shot in there.
Oh, let's try it.
Okay.
Oh, they stopped.
Okay.
Oh. Well, they heard there's only a minute left.
Okay. Well, anyway, I think what we attempted to do was to have some dialogue, as always. I think we had a really good call from Ari, who offered some insight into his thinking as one of those people in the middle I described. And I appreciate that. But folks, I would like to thank you so much for tuning in to the African American scene. God bless and be safe. And I will tell you the answer. You didn't get it.
Uh-oh.
Well, maybe I won't. I'll save it for next week.
Yeah, make them do their homework.
Yeah, so remember, the first black lieutenant governor in the United States from Louisiana. God bless, be safe, and I will see you next Wednesday for the African American scene.
And this is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.